This coffee is so strong. Oh my goodness. Welcome back, guys. I'm drinking a little coffee. I don't drink coffee, but you know, I'm filming this in the morning. I'm not like the most animated morning person, so. Anyways, welcome to the new spot. It pretty much looks like my parents' basement, only we got a real brick wall now. How do you like me now, baby? Anyways, I got an apartment tour coming out soon. It's gonna be the before apartment tour. There's gonna be a before and then an after. So I'm excited to kind of just show you what the actual space looks like. We also have a bunch of freight trains going by right now. So if it's like casting a shadow, that's why. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's a dope spot. I want to just talk about everything that has happened since November. And then I want to talk about kind of the future, where my head's at, and like my fears and like what's going on. Last time I did one of these, I talked about everything that has happened from high school, like the very beginning, up until, wow, it's kind of getting loud. Ooh, you guys hear that? Let me know in the comments if you hear any of the freight trains. Anyways, in the last one, I talked about everything that has happened since high school up until I went to New York City with Lewis House. So just a compilation of events and just like everything. And so I want to do that again. You guys seem to really enjoy it, so I want to do it. And I was thinking about doing these once a month, but a lot of things happened since November that has delayed a lot of things, not just more videos. As you guys remember, I was gone for a little more than a month, I think, maybe more, a month and a half, something like that. And I'm gonna explain why and just everything that's been going on. So, and again, none of this is scripted, none of this is filtered, we're just talking. So anyways, let's get going. So, I went to New York City with Lewis House. It was an amazing trip. He and I got close, and it was just me and him for a week and a half. And it was great. I'm so glad I did it. Shout out to Chase Tuning for making it happen. He's the one that tagged me in Lewis's tweet. And I didn't even know what the footage was being used for. A lot of you guys thought that I was going there to create a film, and I actually thought that too going in, but that was not the case. I did come out with a film for him, but it was like a last minute type of thing. He texted me, he's like, I want to do something like this with the footage. And I said, okay. And I just pieced something together, a little 3-minute thing, sent it to him, and that's what you guys saw. If you didn't see it, I'll throw in a little icon for you to check it out. It's on his YouTube page, upper right hand corner. So click on that if you want to see it. But the main reason I was there, and I found this out later, is he is filming a documentary that's going on Netflix. And they needed footage. The guys doing the actual documentary needed footage they needed footage from the book launch. So that's why I was there. So with that said, some of my footage, I don't know how much, but I know for a fact some of my footage is being used for that documentary on Netflix, which is dope. And that takes me one step closer to kind of some of my goals, which I'll get into in a little bit maybe. So yeah, so my name will be on the credits, my footage will be used, and I'm not like, I'm excited, but I won't be super stoked until I actually see it and see it on the screen. So that's very cool for me, as you guys can assume. I'm very excited. So yeah, that was New York City. Now, where do I take this conversation? It can go two ways. So when I came back from New York City, this is when problems started to occur. This is when everything started going down the toilet fast. My computer was starting to become slow. It wasn't like a drastic change, but I could tell my edits were taking longer than normal. I was using heavy color grading. I was using grain. When you use grain in shots, it renders. It takes a long time to render. I don't know why that is, but it is. So I was like, okay, this isn't the best, but I didn't really think about it too much. Then one day, woke up, went back to editing, and I made one click in Final Cut, like clipping something, and boom, I got the spinning wheel of death for like 5 or 6 minutes. And every time I would click, that would happen. And you guys can, even if you're not an editor, you can relate. When you click, you expect an instant click and an instant result. And having to just click once and have it take 5 minutes it's not gonna work. It's outrageous. Yeah, it was ridiculous. I was like, I can't do my job. So I called, so my first thought was, let's check the read and write speeds of my hard drive. So I checked the read and write speeds and they were way down. I'm like, okay, this is the problem. My hard drive, the read and write speeds are not right. They're very low. Why is this? So I called the company that makes the hard drive. They were very nice. They were very helpful. They said, why don't you switch out your Thunderbolt cable? And what's so badass about Thunderbolt is it's such a powerful cable that even when it has a short in it, like, when you get a short, it'll cut in and out, or it just won't work. Well, it continues to work. It's that slower speeds. So he's like, switch out your Thunderbolt cable, there might be a short in it. I switched it out, checked my read and write speeds, and they were back up to normal. I'm like, great, problem solved. So I go back to editing, and it was fine for the first couple of minutes, and then boom, hit again. It was so slow. I'm like, what is going on? The read and write speeds on the external hard drive were fine. And then the software that comes with the hard drive, I don't know if you guys know much about external storage devices, but it was set up in a RAID 5. So that means if one hard drive fails, you're still fine, your footage is safe. So in my mind, that was my backup, like I'm fine. I'm gonna get into all of this and why you should always have lots and lots of backups. I'll get into that in a little bit, but everything read fine in the software. Like it tells you like each hard drive is healthy and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, my hard drive's fine. It's acting normal. It's my computer. Something is wrong with my computer. So I contacted Apple. They were super great, very, very nice, awesome customer service. I forgot the guy's name, but he and I were going back and forth on emails and phone and all this stuff. Nothing seemed to be working. I would send him clips from my hard drive to him and he would edit them on his Mac on Final Cut and have no problems. So that's why we thought it was the computer even more. Then we tested it. Finally, we came to the conclusion that we're just gonna have to wipe the computer clean, erase it completely. I have it all backed up on a 1 terabyte hard drive. I'll have to re-download OS Sierra or High Sierra, whatever it's called, and upload all of my stuff back onto the computer. And that's what I did, and it worked. It was like I had a brand new machine. It was amazing. I'm like, thank God. And then once I did that, the hard drive started doing some weird things. It started randomly ejecting itself, and an error kept popping up, or a warning message on my computer kept popping up saying that you cannot force eject the hard drive while the computer is using it. So that kept popping up. So even though the device itself was physically plugged in, the icon on the Mac, if you're a Mac user, you know what I'm talking about, the icon of the hard drive would disappear, like you would actually drag and drop it and eject it. And this kept doing it, especially when I was trying to transfer data. And then it got to the point where it was doing it every 5 minutes. So it was just not usable. So then that happened. So then I called the hard drive people again, and we're troubleshooting, you know, going back and forth on the phone. Nothing seems to be working. As I was doing this, all error messages started popping up, like on the software, like every hard drive, like failed, like all red. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And I told them everything that happened, and they said, you know what, you're gonna have to bring it in. And I said, okay. I looked up the company and where they're located, and they were actually like an hour away from where I lived. And so I was speaking to this guy named, we'll call him Jeremy. I was speaking to a Jeremy, and I said, hey, I'm like an hour away. How would you feel if I drove and dropped it off? He's like, normally we don't allow that, but in this case, you know, we don't mind doing that. I'm like, okay, great. So I drove through like heavy snow, blizzard. You know, I drove through it all. It took me like an hour and a half to get there with traffic. And I got there, I met up with this guy, and we talked a little bit, and I told him, I'm like, look, this is my life. This is got everything I have. I've got paid projects. I've got one paid project on here that's not even finished. Is my data safe? And he shook my hand, looked me in the eye. He's like, we're just doing a couple of tweaks, or not tweaks. He just said, we're doing a couple of tests just to see what the actual issue is. Your data is safe. You know, you're fine. And he just had a very like, I don't know if the right word is like nonchalant, but just like relaxed tone of voice, where I'm like, okay, not a big deal. Well, it was a big deal, and that was the biggest mistake I made right there. Everything I'm about to tell you, or as I'm sharing this, all this is my fault, and you know, you're the only one that can take the blame. And that's that when it comes to like your data and storage and your files and whatever, you know, you can either play it safe or just, you know, or just not. So I didn't really play it safe, but I was also kind of ignorant. I didn't do enough research on storing files. So anyways, I left. He now has my hard drive. And this is when the problem started to occur. It was taking forever to get in contact with him. He would say that, you know, expect a phone call from me or an email from me on Monday, and then it would be Friday. I haven't heard anything. I would have to go and actually hunt this guy down by calling people that worked in his office and find him to actually get in touch with him. It was just kind of a nightmare of a situation, especially because he has my data. And then one day he sends me a very long email saying that, you know, I apologize for not getting back to you sooner, blah, blah, blah. But unfortunately, your data is unsalvageable. And, you know, I forgot what the exact email said, but he said my data is unsalvageable, like it corrupted further. And you know, they are not liable for data corruption. Then there was part of the email also said that, you know, there's a chance to recover the data if we send it to a data recovery company, blah, blah, blah. So there was like one part of the email where it was like, your data is unsalvageable, meaning like it's gone, it's wiped clean. That's what it sounded like. But then other part of the email was like, well, there's still a chance to get the data. And I was just so like, so many different emotions like swarmed over me. I was like mad, and I was upset, and I was like freaking out or stressed and all these things. And then I couldn't get into contact with this guy for another week. I mean, I called, I emailed like 3, 4, 5 times. Called twice, left voicemails. Finally, I'm like, I was getting ready to drive over there, you know? And finally, I got in contact with him by getting one of his employees to go find him. And we had a conversation on the phone, very calmly. I just wanted my hard drive and my data. You know, that's all I wanted. So this is what I told him. I'm like, first I asked him, you know, what's the story? And he said that your data, there's a chance to recover it. There's a high potential, there's a high chance to recover the data, but it's going to be very expensive. We are not liable for data loss. That's what's in their policy. And I knew that. So I'm like, okay, you know, you told me that my data was safe. What happened? And he said that while they were testing it, their tests corrupted it further. And, you know, basically saying I'm shit out of luck. So I said, you know, I know what your policy is, but the problem is you told me my data was safe. You know, the situation here is that you said something and something else happened. Yeah, I know what the policy is, but let's make this situation right. I don't want to leave with a bad taste in my mouth. You know, all these things. And I told him what I want. This is what I want. I want you guys to ship the hard drive to the data recovery company, and I want you to pay for it. I want you to compensate for it and then ship it back to me. And in my mind, that was fair. And he said, okay, I hear what you're saying. Let me talk to my director. So we hung up, and they ended up shipping my hard drive to the data recovery company to get a quote, because they didn't know how much it was gonna cost. They just knew it was expensive. So they shipped it over there. Meanwhile, Jeremy was talking to his director to figure out if they can compensate for it. So after a week of not hearing from him again and trying to contact him for an update, I get another long email. And I got the second worst news that I could hear. The first worst news, like the absolute worst, would have been that my data is gone, there's no chance to recover it, you're screwed. The second worst is there's a chance to recover the data, a high probability that they can recover it. The problem is they would ship it back, all the file names would be erased, and all, like, the organization of it would be non-existent. So it would basically just be a giant list of files with no names or anything. And I would have to go sort through them and organize the whole thing, which is 20 terabytes of data because it was full. And then to recover it, it would cost $6,000 to recover data, which blew me away. I was like, what the actual, you know, like, wow. You know, I was expecting it to be like 500, 800. I wasn't even expecting it to be $1,000. I'm like, data recovery, like, why is that expensive, you know? I still don't know why it's expensive, but maybe one of you guys could share why data recovery is so expensive. Let me know in the comments. So I was blown away. I'm like, and then on top of that, he said that their company is not gonna compensate for it. They're just not gonna pay for it. I'm like, well, no shit, you're not gonna pay for it. That's so expensive. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm not angry anymore. It just settled in, like this is the way it is, and I'm gonna have to deal with it. And that's kind of how I've been dealing with all these issues that have been going on. Is I haven't really been complaining about it. I've just been kind of non-existent, like around people, just because I'm thinking so much. And my girlfriend reminds me of that, and it's, you know, it's not great, but I just have so much on my mind. So like when I'm hanging out with her, I'm hanging out with people, it's not like I'm actually there. I'm not present in the moment. I'm not complaining about these things that's going on, but I'm just not present because I'm thinking about it so much. So, But, you know, continue to solve problems. That was the key. That's what I kept reminding myself. Just continue to solve problems. And the more problems you solve, the faster you will get to a solution. So I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, okay, so this is my fate. You guys aren't compensating. That's not worth fighting that. This is what I want. I want a brand new external hard drive from you guys. And I want my old hard drive back, and I want to try to recover the data with a different company or a private something. And he said, okay. He said, we're definitely gonna give you a brand new hard drive. They don't make the hard drive that I bought anymore because it's a year and a half old, but they have an updated 2018 Thunderbolt 3 version. So they're gonna send me that, which is nice. So I'm thankful for that. And then I'm waiting to hear back from him. He was supposed to contact me yesterday and still haven't heard anything. Today's Wednesday. So that is the story about my external hard drive. I have one paid project on there that I have not finished. I have half the footage from that paid project, but the other half I'm going to have to reshoot. And the client's gonna be pissed off, and it's a nightmare, and I'm gonna have to do everything I can to make her or him feel like a priority, feel safe, you know, all these things. So I'm gonna have to deal with that. But that's reality, that's real life. And that's why you should always have backups on backups on backups. The backup was the RAID 5. If one hard drive fails, the rest is okay. And that was my backup. In my mind, I'm like, you know, that's my backup, I'm fine. One hard drive failed, and then once that hard drive failed, the rest of them failed. And that's what happened. Every single drive failed, corrupted, destroyed. So, there's so many like positives out of this thing, and that's what I'm trying to think about. I had another paid project on there that was very important. Luckily, I was able to transfer that paid project over to another drive before I sent it into them because I was currently working on it, and that was the reason why I did that. Thank God. But yeah, everything's gone. My London series, the episode where I got my tattoo, that's gone. The paid project, half that footage is gone. The Mexico series is still alive, so that's coming out. Mexico Rambling Road, excited to edit that and share that with you guys. And yeah, that's the hard drive. So that was the hard drive. Let's talk about, now we have to back it up to New York with Lewis again. I just had to get that hard drive story. But now there were a bunch of things happening while that hard drive thing was going on. Me and Lewis we flew into Chicago together, and I finished up the book tour in Chicago with him. He then left for LA and I stayed in Chicago. So I drove him to the airport, and we sat on the airport floor and talked and just had kind of a heart-to-heart conversation. And I was telling him, he knows like what I'm trying to do. He knows, like, he doesn't know my vision. And I don't think he thinks I have a vision, and maybe it's not dialed in yet, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Like my goals and stuff and my fears in the future. But, you know, he knows what I'm trying to do for the most part. While we were talking, I was importing footage from my SD card into a hard drive to ship or send with him for the guys working on the documentary. So as that's going on, we're having a talk, and he basically said what I knew. I knew what I was supposed to do, and I knew that it was going to help, but it was just an idea, and I never kind of brought it to reality until he said it himself. And for a guy like him, and how like successful he is and stuff like that, when he says it to you, it just leaves a much bigger footprint and kind of brings it way more to attention than if I just knew it myself. And he basically said, you know, if you want to take it to the next level and you want to really do what you say you want to do, you have to become uncomfortable. Because I was making good money as a cinematographer, and with no overhead, no expenses. So I'm living at home, you know, I'm bringing in money, no money going out. You know, you feel well off, even though, you know, I'm not rich or anything by any means, not even close. I think being wealthy and I think it's all relative, because if you're making, let's say like 500 grand a year, $500,000 a year, but you have so many expenses because you have so many hot cars and like this massive mortgage, this huge house, whatever, and you end up not having a lot of free cash, well, you're really not that wealthy anymore. So I think this is just my opinion, it's all relative. So living at home, bringing in, you know, money where I can move out and live, and be totally fine. But not having the expenses made me feel very comfortable. And then just living at home in general, even if I wasn't making that much money, there's always that comfort. You know, it's your parents' home, it's what you know. Whenever I would go on these trips, traveling, either with Lewis, LA, New York City, you know, the Arnold even, like it takes me out of my shell, it takes me out of my comfort zone. And those were the periods of time where I would grow as a person. I would come back feeling amped, feeling inspired, feeling like ready to go. But before going, I'd be nervous, stressed, like, am I gonna do a good job? Like all these things in my head. But then, like I said, I would come out of it stronger, ready to go, fired up. And luckily I traveled a lot last year, so I was getting that quite a bit. But if I didn't, I would be in my bubble, because I'd be living with my parents at home. So for him to tell me, like, you need to get out of your comfort zone, you need to move out, it was a good slap in the face. Like I said, I already knew I needed to do that, but for him to say it just made it was more of an impact on me. And so that's what I did. I started looking at places, probably went to 7 or 8 different apartments, and then I found this place, and I knew right away, I'm like, this is the spot. And originally I had a certain price that I wanted to spend. I had a budget, but I went over the budget. And he said that, you know, don't be afraid to spend some money. You want to spend some money, you want to get a nice place that you feel inspired by when you wake up in the morning, a creative atmosphere, nice, all these things. I might have taken it a step further, and maybe I bit off a little more than I could chew. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not in a comfortable spot anymore. When I moved in here, so basically this is how everything's coming together. I had the move, so I'm moving into a new place. My hard drive is corrupted. I can't post YouTube videos or Instagram because everything was on that drive, so I had nothing. And so I felt like I was losing relevance on social media. I felt like, and my hard drive I couldn't work on paid projects, so I'm like, I'm losing, you know, I'm gonna lose a client or whatever. So I had those negative thoughts. And then on top of that, I wasn't getting any gigs. So in my business, at least in my experience thus far, business comes on in waves. I get just totally packed and I get all these gigs or whatever, like very back to back to back, and then it goes quiet. And I'm still getting used to that quiet, like that, going from that hectic, crazy lifestyle to then peace and quiet. It's scary because as a freelancer, you don't know if you're going to make money that month. You don't know if, you don't know if you're gonna be able to survive that month. But I didn't have those survival instincts because I was living at home with my parents, so I could always just rely on them. If I don't make a certain amount of money, no big deal. I'm not having to pay for food, it's fine. Even though that wasn't my thinking, it's more of a subconscious of comfort, which I talked about on one of my videos. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I should get into the whole apartment situation. I don't know, you guys know the bathroom situation. Moving in here has been kind of a nightmare. It looks like they're not compensating me really at all. I think they gave me $100, which is not even, I had to fight for the 100. They originally gave me 75 and I had to fight because I thought it was ridiculous. I wasn't even fighting for 100. I was just fighting for, like, where's the customer service here? Because I've been dealing with very, very, people like Tommy, and it's just been, I've been dealing with 2 sets of customer service that have been bad, the hard drive and then the apartment, while getting no gigs, while not being able to post on YouTube, not making any money. So it kind of ruined the move-in for me, which should have been a fun experience. Buying new furniture and stuff, and like starting a life for myself outside of my parents' home should have been fun and exciting. And instead it kind of turned into hectic, stressful. Oh my God, I'm spending so much money on furniture with no money coming in. My hard drive's corrupted, like all these things. So we are all moved in. I'm settled in. That's it, I'm here. My lease ends in 17 months, and I'm giving myself that amount of time to make it here on the internet and create an online business, or create not just an online business, but create a business, make money doing what I love. And that is making films that move an audience. That is what I want to do. Whether, it doesn't matter if it's YouTube or if it ends up being Twitch one day or another platform or Netflix or whatever. At the end of the day, I want to create films that move people. And if I can make money doing that, that would be amazing. And that is what the 17 months are for. Some of my fears though is now, even though I've moved and I am here and I am in a more creative environment, more uncomfortable environment that helps me grow as a person, I have to make sure that I prioritize my purpose, my main goal of making films that move people and not money. Even though now I have rent and I have expenses, I have to pay for groceries. I have a lot more expenses now, but I really have to dig deep and prioritize the fact that I want to do this, what you're watching right now, and make that my main thing, and make sure that this is my focus. This is what I'm doing for my life, and not just, saying yes to a bunch of weddings or whatever that might make me money, but isn't necessarily the direction that I want to go in. Yes, I still have to do that. Yes, I have to do projects that aren't like the fanciest things in the world and like the most exciting, because I have to live. But at the same time, I need to prioritize the fact that, the reason why I started this is to do this full time. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. And then the biggest fear of them all is seeing that progress, seeing my relevance, seeing my voice and the impact that I've made dwindle away and just diminish. And that would be like, that's what wakes me up in the morning is, I don't want to say that fear. Like, I feel pumped and excited to get after it, but that fear keeps my senses sharp, if that makes sense. It makes me aware. So I'm giving myself 17 months so that I can pick up and leave and go wherever I want to go, and I'm fine. And that's my goal as of right now. I am financially independent. That was my first big goal. But now I want to be financially independent, doing exactly what I love doing. And I'm close, but I'm not exactly there yet. I'm financially independent using the camera to make money, but now I have to narrow that down and become financially independent using the camera, making films that I truly want to make, the ones that excite me. So that's kind of the goal. I think that's it. If you guys have watched this far, let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your fears. But I want to bring you in on what I'm feeling. I think in YouTube, you only see just the outside perspective, and you don't really see what's inside. You don't see people's true emotions that much. There's not a lot of transparency. People will tell you in YouTube that they're being transparent, and they might say things like, it's the way I feel or whatever. But I don't know if a lot of that is genuine or real, even though they might say it's real. So that's what we like to do over on this channel, is be 100% transparent, 100% real. It might even be too real, who knows? But I hope this impacted you in a way. I'm not perfect, I don't know everything, but I just want to share that so you guys feel better about what you're doing and know that you are not alone. There's a real good chance that I might not make it. There's a good chance I might not be able to afford this place. There's a good chance that I might move back in with my folks, and you guys will know every single bit of it. And I don't know. I just want to keep going. I want to keep at it for as long as possible. I want to make this a real thing, and I'm using the 17 months here to do that. I'm just going to give it my all. I'm just going to go for it. That's kind of what I've been doing from the beginning, is just kind of winging it, kind of just going for it, not trying to think about it too much, just do. So that's what I'm going to do for these next 17 months, and let's see if we can hit this goal. And I'm going to share that with you. So that's it. I will see you guys next week.
Work so fucking much, my greatest fear is I'ma die alone. Every diamond in my chain, yeah, that's a milestone. I'm loving it. Calling me, asking me for money, man. The only thing I'ma give you motherfuckers is a dial tone. Flashbacks of a youngin' sipping that purple Kool-Aid, skipping school with my homies and chief and reefer for 2 days. Running from the law, living how I'm living, fuck 'em all. Bumping 666, Hennessy in my cup, driving through the sticks.